In this video, I want to tell you what Warzones I think should be added to Kill Team. So when Kill Team released, we had most of the teams you would expect from Warhammer in the compendium. These are all your standard Space Marines, Necrons, Chaos stuff. Basically anything that has an army in Warhammer 40k is in there. But we know that's not all of the teams that will be in Kill Team. Every quarter, 2 new teams will be added, and each of these teams will be interesting and unique teams made just for Kill Team. We already have the Deathcore Kree, or Commandos, and we're soon getting the Novice Sisters of Battles and Tau Pathfinders. So this got me thinking, what else should they add? For each of these, I'll go over a touch on the lore, and then how I think they could be implemented into the game itself. The first Warzone I want to talk about is the Catachan Jungle Fighters against the Tyranid Jungle Lictors. I heard rumors about this being a future Warzone, but haven't seen anything confirming it. I'll go over the lore, but if you want a deep dive of the Jungle Fighters, go to the Adeptus Ridiculous channel. They did a whole episode on them and it's worth watching. Catachan is a death world and is a dense, deadly jungle planet. The Jungle Fighters are basically the Rambos of 40k. It's said that one of these fighters are worth 10 from any other planet. It's home to a huge list of deadly creatures and plants, including the Catachan Devil, the Venus Mantrap, the Strangle Plant, the Coiling Death Cobra, and Drake Bats. This list would go on for a long time if I listed every deadly thing on the planet. Now let's talk about them in-game. Because of the harsh conditions of the planet and because they want to stay more mobile, these fighters typically don't wear heavy armor. I could see one of their weaknesses being a low save against range attacks and having fairly low HP. Maybe having 1 or 2 higher than normal Imperial Guard just because they're hardcore, but they're still human. They also like to rig up traps and prefer heavy weapons like heavy bolters and flamers. They also famously have their Catachan Fang, which is their combat knife. Think of a Rambo knife and you know what it is. They also have the Devil's Claw, which is a 4-foot long sword. I think in game they would play like glass cannons, where they use combat knives and heavy weapons to take out prey with little concern for their own safety and with no fear. I could see them having rules that ignore injury and having extra movement or vertical movement. I think the Knife Fighters could have abilities like the Orc Slash-A-Boy, where if you don't finish him off in a fight, he can retaliate by dealing mortal wounds to you, or at least getting another hit in. These guys are super cool, and I'd love to see a bunch of crazy jungle fighters as an option in Kill Team. Fighting them would be the Tyranid Lictors. These are known to be on the planet, and they're scouts for the Tyranid Fleets. They can hunt solo, and they have chameleon skin, blending in and stalking their prey. They're larger than a Space Marine, and they're deadly. We don't currently have Lictors in Kill Team, and that's because they're more of the elite units, so we wouldn't have many of them in a Kill Team. They're very similar to Tyranid Warriors as far as how strong they are. They have Feeding Tendrils, which currently in Kill Team lets you regen HP for killing a target. Their main weapons are their Rending Claws, and they have Flesh Hooks, which can be used at range. In-game, I'd like to see them have an ability where they can use their chameleon skin. This could either be something where they can charge from concealment, they could get extra concealment bonuses, or even possibly not be targetable if they have a conceal order, and then they could use APL to activate their skin's ability. We could get some awesome jungle train out of this Warzone as well. Because it is a deadly jungle, it would be cool if 1 or 2 of the pieces train force you to roll if you're near it, and if you roll a 1, the plant attacks you. I don't see this happening, but the train itself being a threat would be a cool twist. The next Warzone I want to talk about is the Rak Gol Vs Inquisitors. A lot of you probably haven't heard of the Rak Gol. They are a group of Xenos marauders. They are super violent 8-limb monsters. They appear, slaughter, and then disappear again. They mostly use simple weapons that are either close combat, or use some form of simple projectile from their ranged weapons. They have technology fused into their bodies, but they're not super technologically advanced. In-game, I think they would have strong stats, be fast, and most of their weapons would have something like Brutal or Rending. They do have some level of psykers, even though it's rare. These psykers are called techno-shamans. The way their psyker powers work is they actually affect the mind and let you see the world through their perspective, and it's supposed to be horrifying. It starts to rip the mind apart of whatever it's targeting. This could deal mortal wounds and lower AP, or simply give the target injured like a long-range contagion. The other thing their techno-shamans can do is disable technology, so this could either deactivate a ranged weapon for a round, or disable special abilities or equipment. Having a psyker that actually interacts with equipment would be really interesting. These Xenos look awesome. Their design is amazing, and it would probably be the coolest looking model in Kill Team. They typically run in teams of 3 to 10, with each one having one of these techno-shamans, so that would be a perfect size for Kill Team. For the Inquisitors, they're the secret police of the Imperium of Man. There are different factions, but the one we'd most likely be focused on in this boss would be Ordo Xenos, which are the alien hunters. There's a lot of lore on these guys. Just know that they're highly skilled hunters that are pretty relentless when it comes to their mission of protecting the Imperium. The individual Inquisitor could be given a lot of cool gear here. They will use anything from power armor, power weapons, demon hammers, to pistols, and your standard rifles. A lot of the weapons you see from Deathwatch would likely be present here as well. Because each group of Inquisitors is specialized, they would have a lot of equipment options that range from anti-chaos, anti-psyker, and anti-Xenos. My guess is that an individual here would be average to a little bit weak when you just look at their stat lines, but then they would have a lot of equipment and employees that let you specialize into whatever threat you're facing. This Warzone would likely be on a ship or some kind of overran Imperial outpost, where the Inquisitors have caught up to the Rak Gol. This is one of the Warzone books that I would want them just to pack full of lore. I think this is a long shot, but I would love to see this Warzone actually happen. Before I continue on to the next Warzone, if there's anything you'd love to see as far as factions added to the game, add it in the comments section. If I get enough feedback, I'd love to do a video of the factions you all suggest. So now let's go on to the third Warzone. This is the Delorpos Infected against the Rouge Traders. The Rouge Traders are a part of the Imperium of Man. They are explorers, charters, and traders that go into the unknown regions of space. They're well armed and are crafty when it comes to fighting. The nice thing about knowing how both of these teams would work in Kill Team is we had this exact set in the old Kill Team that was in a boss that's very similar to what we're getting out of the current Warzones. The Rouge Traders were mostly equipped with swords and pistols, but they did have some unique effects. They had dedicated medics, comms, and leaders, and most of their tactics were unique to the individual characters. If they bring these back, hopefully they'll add in the rules for the old models, even if they just make completely new models that aren't the same characters. The Delorpos Infected is really why I want this set brought back, though. They are the Nurgle infected creatures that are just better versions of Nurgle than what we have in Kill Team right now. They have several different models that are pretty Nurgle-y looking. They have a nice mix of smaller models and then their big Nightmare Hulk. They have a lot of the standard Nurgle stuff you would expect in a game, with disgustingly resilient, as well as all the things that make them harder to finish off. A lot of their abilities were either based on morale or injury roll from the old Kill Team, but I'm sure that could be adjusted to the new one pretty easily. As far as how they would play, it'd be similar to if there was more variety to the Postwalkers, and they were just more interesting models. They would mostly be melee, but hard to keep down. I don't know if this would work as far as lore goes, but one ability I'd love to see brought over from the old Death Guard would be Nurgle's Dift. This tactic was anytime a Postwalker killed a model, you could use CP and roll. If you got a 4-up on the roll, you got to place another Postwalker. I could see the Delorpos having a rule where if they kill something, you get to place a Delorpos mutant on the board. Maybe it starts at half HP for balance, but that would be a fun mechanic. Did some of the zombie vibes going that we all want in our games. The squishier ranged humans from the Rouge Traders against the slow but hard to kill Delorpos Infected would be an interesting matchup. Even if it's not a full Warzone, they should potentially release the models in as well as the new rules. I would love a chance to be able to get some of these models in. The next Warzone is going to be the lowest IQ matchup you've ever seen. And this is a weird one, but I think Ogryn against the Snagga boys would be great to see. I'm not sure if this would need to be a full Warzone since we already have the models, but some updated, more unique Ogryn models and maybe some specialized Snagga rules could be fun. Ogryn are a part of the Imperial Guard and are just big, stupid buff guys. This is because they come from a primitive but high gravity world, so they lack intelligence but they're physically very strong. The current kits from Games Workshop are only equipped with Ripper guns. There are also the Bolgrin, which are basically wearing tank armor. The gameplay would be basically what you would expect. Not accurate, but probably high damage. They would have nothing to help them with stealth. I could even see Bolgrins not being able to go into concealment, but then getting large bonuses against attacks that do less than 3 or 4 damage. In the old Kill Team, they got bonuses when they charged, and I could see that coming into play here as well. For the Snagga boys, I would love to see some specialized models like what we got out of the Altaria set. But even if they don't, it would be fun to have them in Kill Team. Beast Snagga boys are larger than normal boys, and are more primal because of the conditions where they live. Their entire culture is based off around raising squids, which are the all-purpose animal of the orcs. They'd probably have fewer models, but would be a lot stronger than normal orcs. Possibly they would have slightly better melee and maybe have something like 12 wounds. The other ability I could see that would make them stand out is if they're attacking a target that has over a certain wound limit, they deal extra damage or get a bonus against them. So their kill teams would be specialized in stuff like Tyranid warriors, and everyone's favorite model, the Custodes. Being specialized in bigger targets would be a fun mechanic that fits with their theme. This might be a stretch, but this seems like one of the teams where having a squig mounted boy could be a cool leader position. This would have high movement and probably have a huge charge range, but it wouldn't be sneaky and would be easy to take shots at. Beast Snaggas would be great to have a more elite version of the orc army. The final Warzone I want to talk about is possibly the most complicated one to implement, but it's the Space Marine chapters and it's the Chaos Space Marine chapters. I might do an entire video dedicated to how they could implement this. But for an actual Warzone, I'd like to see something like Alpha Legion on the Chaos side, maybe in something like the Imperial Fist, since they have history together in the Horus Heresy. And if those are the two chapters that are showcased in the Warzone, we could actually get some more lore and get some pretty cool models for both of these. All of the Space Marine chapters and the Chaos Space Marine chapter should be given rules for Kill Team. And I hope it isn't as simple as the old Kill Team where you pick one, and you get a small bonus based on that chapter, but they basically have no individuality. Hopefully they each have their own weapons and abilities to make them stand out this time. Something like the Salamanders getting a lot of flamers and the Space Wolves getting their cool melee weapons would be awesome. The terrain for this could be set anywhere. As long as it looks cool and has some interesting vantage points in design, I'd be happy with it. That wraps up the top 5 Warzones I want to see for Kill Team. Let me know in the comments which kill teams you want to see added, and if you like this type of content, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.